Plex is the media streaming app that beautifully organizes your media collections and lets you securely access them on all your screens. Now with live TV viewing and DVR. Click the link in the video description to learn more. I've had kind of a weird relationship with my Canon 6D Mark II, which is what I'm using to film this video right now, and I will say that it is way too heavy to try to use as a vlogging camera. Holy cow. The camera itself is pretty rock solid. I bought it as a photography camera, as a picture-taking camera. I wanted to try something full frame and to have something nice again to take pictures with, because I was very unhappy with the photography experience on Micro Four Thirds cameras like my Panasonic G7. And I still stand by that, and it's still pretty freaking great for a photography camera. I don't deny that. The pictures I get from it are wonderful. I have a lot of fun using it. It's pretty solid. The problem comes in the massive tease that it gave me for video production. I specifically bought it, again, to be a stills camera. I said I'm going to buy something that I don't need to use for video, yada yada. But then I got it, and it had a couple very special features that made it very appealing for video. Those being the dual pixel autofocus, which allows me to sit here and take it through all sorts of different angles, and for the most part it's going to keep my face in frame. And then the fact that it's full frame, which means that this is a 24mm focal length on my lens right now, and I have the camera, only a couple feet from my body, held out by my arm, and I'm still in frame. I still have a really nice wide frame, and even if I zoom in, this is like, what, 55mm? This is 100mm. I'm holding this at hand's distance. This is insane. May not seem like anything too crazy, but when you keep in mind that I was shooting primarily at the time on Micro Four Thirds, which a 24mm on Micro Four Thirds would be about like this right now, and I need wide angles for everything, it was super appealing. I'm like, man, this thing has amazing autofocus. I can just set it up and always have myself in focus, not have to worry about crazy manual focus, and I can use really cool focal lengths, get some nice more blurred out background without having to have my camera across the room, which seemed really ideal. The problem is, the video from it is not all that great. Man, this thing is heavy. The video from it is 1080p only. It is not all intra frame. It is just more lossy compressed. It has a decent bitrate. It's about 60 megabits per second. It can do 60 FPS, although the quality really degrades at that point, in my opinion. And then there's no clean HDMI out. It's one of those things where it has a few features that are specifically really freaking fantastic for video that kept having me come back to it. I used it for a couple A-roll shoots. I used it for when I was doing real quick vloggy stuff like this and computer build videos. And the problem is, the videos kept coming out very dark, and I got a few complaints about it, and I didn't realize it while I was shooting it, because the screen, the brightness on the screen just really doesn't convey the actual exposure levels of the video very well. And that's a big annoyance I've run into, where everything was constantly underexposed for what I thought would be right. And it got to the point where I'm going to show you a clip right now that I shot of just my wife playing with my cat, and that video looked completely overexposed most of the time in the actual preview monitor, in the actual on-camera monitor. That thing looked overexposed. And it's not camera brightness. Like the UI and everything, the brightness is fine. It is how it actually displays the exposure of the video. The video of the cats looked way more overexposed than it turned out, and a lot of those computer building videos looked like they would be the right kind of exposure. So I thought it was set up right, and it turns out that it wasn't. And I've ended up with a lot of videos that are underexposed significantly, and there is nowhere near enough data in these recordings to actually recover any of that. The video has no log mode, no raw mode, nothing like that. It has a neutral profile, which I've always used. I just turned down the contrast on it before filming this video, so hopefully that helps a little bit. But like, you do not have much runway with the video at all. And I've seen, you can buy profiles that you can inject into the camera that emulate log or whatever, but I messed around with that on my T3i, and the results were very subpar. They were never great, because the footage itself does not give you that much leeway. So then you're fooled into thinking, I can push colors or detail or whatever how much I want, and you end up not actually being able to, and it's really frustrating. Another issue I had discovered with this camera is with regards to how it actually records video, because it doesn't record the entire full framed video. Canon notoriously doesn't do that in their DSLRs. Instead, it has both line skipping and a moire filter, which results in certain circumstances, some seriously jagged lines and some like anti-aliasing or deinterlacing looking artifacts as a result, which I ran into when testing some wide-angle lenses with my neon sign in the background. The corners of it just looked like they were pixelated up to all hell and back, and it's just weird little things like that that drive someone like me nuts, but some random person using it for just casual YouTube use will probably never care about. So I've gone back and forth between hating this camera and loving it when it comes to video, because, you know, I'll be like, yeah, it's great, full frame, it's freaking awesome, I shoot in tiny spaces, full frame is the best stuff ever, it is that hot stuff, I love it. Having the microphone input is helpful, even though you only get manual control over audio levels, which I hope are okay here. I don't get an audio preview at all. You only get manual control over those in manual mode. If you're in auto mode, it just screws up the audio altogether. The dual pixel autofocus is freaking phenomenal. I'm in love with it, and the lens it comes with is fairly sharp and competent. I'm pretty happy with that. And when I do go manual mode for shooting some B-roll, I can strap on, you know, my Helios 44-2 swirly bokeh lens, and since it's full frame, I can actually get swirly bokeh in my apartment here without having to have like a football field's worth of distance like on other cameras. I can do a lot of really cool stuff with it, and so I pick it up and I'll be like, yeah, this is great, and then I realize I'm underexposing, or I'm running into other issues, or it's just too heavy to move certain places for the limitations that it presents, and then I hate it again, and I'm back to somewhat kind of appreciating it again, understanding its limitations. To me, which is pretty much the intention, these aren't cameras built for video, although I do feel like clean HDMI out, which Canon specifically nerfs on these cameras to sell their more expensive ones, I feel like clean HDMI out would have made up a lot of the difference. But I really feel like the video on these cameras are just meant to accompany your photography. It's supposed to be, hey, I'm taking pictures, I want to get a quick clip of this, here I can. Not it's meant to be your studio production video camera, or even to be an A-roll, you know, camera in the first place. It's not meant to replace any of that kind of functionality. And when everyone's complaining about the video features in the latest EOS R or this camera or whatever, they seem to be missing that, because these cameras aren't entirely meant for vloggers or anything like that. That being said, Canon does try to leverage that in their marketing for it, and so any sort of like backlash they have as a result is totally their fault, and I 100% understand that. Moving to the EF mount lens system, just for Canon glass and things like that in general, has been freaking phenomenal for my photography and videography work. Since my other main video camera is now EF mount as well, I've been able to get some really awesome lenses and do some really cool video as a result, and that lens system is, just like I said, it's phenomenal. I've gotten a lot more leeway out of it, and that change has been good for me. And overall, using this camera for video from time to time, like if I'm going to pick up a camera, again, when my wife Chu is playing with her cats, or I just need to record something randomly, or we're, you know, going to a park, whatever, where I might want to take pictures and video, the camera I'm going to grab is this one, the 6D Mark II. It does all of those things decently well. But if I'm going to put a camera on a tripod and actually record a video talking into it and trying to showcase a product or anything like that, where I don't have the space or the room to really utilize my Ursa Mini Pro, it's not going to be this one. It's going to be my Panasonic G7. The G7 doesn't have any stabilization. It doesn't have autofocus that I can use. It doesn't have a whole lot of things this camera has, and it has a crop factor that would make this video look like this, which I'm sure you guys really don't want to watch. It makes me look sickly, it's so close. I don't look that sickly in real life, but that would be the camera I picked up. But I don't want to keep shooting on just a 12mm lens for everything. That's so creatively it's so much I can't even speak words. It's so creatively limiting that I'm really tired of it, which is why I picked up a bigger cinema camera, because it more accurately meets my actual needs and requirements for production. And that's not to say that for making YouTube videos, it's not even a great camera. If you are looking to upgrade from a basic webcam or your phone camera, or even a cheaper end Canon DSLR, and you're already used to how they work, a 6D Mark II or the EOS R, or you know, what have you, are pretty solid choices. You just have to really learn to use the camera and understand its limitations and work within them but you also have to make decisions about how you produce content based around the camera. Whereas I had a specific set desired studio shooting environment and setup and workflow that this camera doesn't meet. If you're just looking for something quick and easy that you can put a mic on top of and record some stuff from time to time, and you really don't care about the little details that much, it's probably worth it to you. The problem is, when people like me, who are complete video nerds and control freaks, pick it up, it doesn't fully suit those needs, if that makes any sense. So I've had this camera for about 6 to 8 months now. I got it in July of 2018. And admittedly, it doesn't see anywhere near as much use these days as it did when I first got it. But that's been a deliberate decision because I was using it for everything. In place of my G7, whenever I needed some quick camera work, I was picking this up instead of the G7 and then regretting it whenever I got to editing or whenever I got certain comments about how dark certain videos were without me pumping light into the scene and things like that, especially in the 60 FPS mode. The thing requires so much more light than I was expecting. And part of it's due to the camera lens itself, because I'm using here a f3.5 to f5.6 lens, and on this sensor, that means that when I'm zoomed in a little bit, it starts jumping to f5 here, which with my current lighting on my face, that's mostly fine, but shooting a black PC case in a kind of less lit up corner, that means I need to pump it with a lot more light, and I wasn't doing so, and yada yada. And so this is mostly specifically my random, like, home video camera if I do video on it, otherwise my photography camera. But boy, it's been a roller coaster getting used to it. I have the battery grip for it, I have a couple other accessories for it, and I really enjoy it for when it's playing to its strengths. Like, it is the camera I would recommend for that thing, but that doesn't make it worth $2,000. And that's the issue, is especially comparatively compared to other cameras, for $2,000 you can get a heck of a lot more for your money in terms of value for both video and sort of the photo work. Because this isn't even, it doesn't even beat out all other $2,000 photo cameras. So it's one of those things. Canon keeps trying to play the middle line here and doesn't do either of those things amazingly well, and releases weird oddball releases like this one versus the 5D Mark IV, and some of us are just left questioning why. So I don't think I'm going to sell it anytime soon. I'd love to just straight up swap it for a 5D4, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. But I just wanted to update you guys as to how it's been going, because I complained about it a lot at first. And Kitty. Just wanted to update. I've had some questions about my use of it because it has become apparent that I don't use it a ton anymore in videos and yada yada. So just wanted to let you know, if you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm trying to cover more camera and lens stuff on the channel, as it's a big part of content creation and I think it's important to cover. Yeah, so subscribe for more tech education and content creation education. That's a lot of Asians. My arms are about to fall off carrying this thing, so I'll talk to you next time.